Hello and welcome to Strategy with Sally. We are a tiny bit late, but today I'm going to be talking to you about the 3-day system that I've used since I started my business in 2015 that actually helps us to stay successful, to be able to know what to do and when to do it and what to focus on, because that's one of the hardest things about running your business. It's like, what do I focus on? And what I focus on, is it the right thing that's actually going to give you traction? So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. And what is that actual system that I use? And it is a 3-day thing that I do in order to come up with what I want to do for the next 10 years. I'll go more into that in a minute as we wait for our VIPs to jump on in. As always, we've got to kick off with our theme song, and then we'll be right back with today's content, which is all about my 3-day process that I use to stay successful and winning in the business. Back in 3.5.
You've been hiding in the shadows way too long. You always thought that you were weak, but babe, you're wrong. Yeah, you better step into the light, just give it a try. Think that it's time you let that spark out. You've been hiding in the shadows way too long. And who cares if you might mess it up? You're stronger than the others think. And who cares if you might mess it up? Go ahead and shine, darling. Go ahead and shine, my dear. 'Cause who cares if you might mess it up? Just shine. You shouldn't doubt yourself, 'cause you're a work of art. You should know that you are perfect with those flaws. Yeah, you better step into the light, just give it a try. Know that it's time you let that spark out. You've been hiding in the shadows way too long. And who cares if you might mess it up? You're stronger than the others think. And who cares if you might mess it up? Go ahead and shine, darling. Go ahead and shine, my dear. 'Cause who cares if you might mess it up? Just shine, shine, darling. Go ahead and shine, my dear. 'Cause who cares if you might mess it up? Just shine. And who cares if you might mess it up? You're stronger than the others think. And who cares if you might mess it up? Shine. Go ahead and shine, darling. Go ahead and shine, my dear. 'Cause who cares if you might mess it up? Just shine, shine, darling. Go ahead and shine, my dear. 'Cause who cares if you might mess it up? Just shine.
Hello, welcome to Strategy with Sally, and today is all about my 3-day process that I've used since 2015 to keep my business on track. So, do you feel like sometimes it's really hard to decide what to do? What should I do? and then you just feel that you're spending lots of time in busy work, right? Doing lots of busy work that isn't actually giving you traction to move forward. Well, if you don't know, I'm a huge, huge lover of the EOS system, which is the entrepreneurial operating system. I've got lots of orange books in the background and more over in my cupboard, but the book that I will get you to refer to is this one here. Traction. As you can see, lots of notes, lots of drawings, very, very well loved and used. So within this particular book, you will find, 7 different things to go through, but the one I'm going to be talking to you about is the Vision Traction Organizer. And what I've done is I will bring my team together at least once a year, the entire team, for 3 days. Now, we have a lot of fun and I buy them food and we eat lunch together and we play games, even though we're spread all over the world. But the purpose of this is to get not just what I want to happen in the business, but also what together as a team we're going to do so that we're all rowing in the same direction. Now, before I even had a team, I was doing this by myself, just me and my little book, sitting all by myself, pretending that I had a team. Until, of course, one day I did have one and I continue to do the same thing. I actually pulled out a very old one. So this is what the VTO looks like. You can print it out. All props to Gino Wickman, who developed this process. But it breaks your business down into different areas where it gets you to look really far ahead, and then we dial it on down. So let me explain to you how I like to break up my 3 days. So on day one, the first thing we actually get the entire team to do is write down what they loved for the last 12 months about being part of our team. So we can all share good stuff, right? Start with the really, really good stuff. So we all write it down, and when we're in the same room, we put it on I've literally got all the flip charts from all the years of everybody writing down what they like the most, right? That way we can share what it is we enjoyed. Then we say, what would we like to see happen in the next 12 months, right? And this is just to kind of start off the actual 3 days together. And it's a great way to sit there and reflect. Now, we also get them to there's a little quiz that you get to do using the EOS system to see how we feel about different areas of the business. So how strong are these different areas of the business? I get that done as a baseline before we start the 3 days. So they go through, and it's on the EOS website. They go through and they all complete this little survey to let us know in a percentage rate how confident they are in the different areas of understanding, the core values, how the people work, are we hiring and firing correctly, all of these different facets of your business. And then at the end, we do it again to see if their view on the business has improved. So that's it. We do the what we liked best last year, what we hope for the next year. Then we do that baseline quiz. I'm a bit of a DISC fan and what is it? The one, I'm an ENFJ. Anyway, one of those. So we get them to do that as well, just to kind of see people's different personalities. Yeah, personality test. Myers-Briggs and the DISC. So we also do that just for my personal records, and we stick them into our team drive on Google. Then we start to dig into the Vision Traction Organizer. So on day one, what we do together is we develop 3 things, or 4 things actually. Our core values. Now, to begin with our core values, what we all do is we take a minute and we think about if we could clone either an internal team member, or if you don't have team members, clients, if we could clone that person, it would help our business grow and dominate in the market because of some sort of, things that that person has that would make it successful. So we write down the names and why. So then we go around the room and everybody gives their 3 people's names, right? And then we start to discuss why. So why did they choose Ash, right? Why did they choose a client, say, Eva? Why did they choose those people? And we start to get a list together of the things that make this person awesome. Maybe it's their attention to detail. Maybe it's that they take action first before, coming and asking for help. They're Google first, right? So what are the personality traits of these people that we think are awesome that would help us to dominate in our market? Once we've kind of culled that down, we start to then cross-reference. Certain things might be the same, right? Different words mean the same thing. And we start to kind of batch them together and then pick the most dominant word or the word that we like the most. And you want to come to between 3 to 5 core values. And that's how we decide on our core values. Now, I'm looking back here. This is a 2020 version that I pulled out just as a bit of an example. So this was way back when we really promoted like the sparkle. But our core values internally. So this is not the values that we put out. Like we've got our brand values that you, the audience, would see, right? But this is our internal values on how we show up in business. So these were team synergy, forward focused, no bullshit was one of our brand values. A big part of that was, if somebody's saying something behind somebody's back, the person listening to that must say, are you going to tell them or am I? Because we don't want water cooler chat within the team, right? We want, because that starts to fester and grow. So no bullshit was one. Another one was integrity and reliability. And the other was authentic, which, as you know, inside of our business, we show up with our colored hair, with our tattoos, with our weirdness, and we really step into being weird. We love it. So being authentic was very important. So that's how we developed our core values. Once you've got your core values, then we move into the core focus. Now, with the core focus, there's 2 parts to that. The first one is a statement that is either your purpose, your cause, or your passion. You choose one of those 3 words, but using some of the words that we had come up with through the values, and in the book it gives you examples and how to kind of shortlist it and grow that. We then decided back in 2020 was purpose. We're going to our core focus around purpose was to build a global community that inspires, empowers, and transforms so that all shit sparkles. So you can see we've always been leaning into the get shit done thing. From there, it then asks you to do your niche. Now, niche is a little bit different compared to what you would normally think of as niche. I actually wrote it in the book because every year we got confused. Let me just check here. Niche is not the normal niche. It is what you do best, right? So that's what the niche statement is, not so much the, I help female founders or whatever. It is what you do best. So we had click by click automation to streamline online businesses. So that makes us unique. If anyone's ever been through our training, you will understand click by click, right? It's like mouse here, click, follow along, click. And that's how we teach. It's not step by step, it's click by click. And then the big one that we end the day on that gets all the team excited, and then we have a few drinks and celebrate the day, especially if we're in person, is the 10-year target. Now, this can be a little tricky for those people who find it very hard to look into the future that far. Me as a visionary, it's what I do. It comes naturally to me to look that far into the future. So looking forward into 10 years was no problem for me. But I also know that that might change in 3 or 6 months' time. So I'm not like solid. It's a vision. It needs to be big. It needs to be a little scary as well because it's 10 years away. Now, if our team or any members can't see that far, we ask them to pick how far they would like to see, just to make it a little easier and less challenging for those who don't see that far ahead. And then we just set that target together. Now, this is generally where I get very honest with my team. I pull out our profit and loss. I show them what we've done in the last 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, and they can start to see the growth and even the peaks and the troughs, right? But then they can see what we're growing, and then we come together to choose a number, whether it's 7 figures, 8 figures, whatever it is, right? And then we end the day getting really excited about where we're heading in 10 years' time. And for the ones that we've had in person, then that's when we normally then go order some pizza, get a few drinks, go out on the town, really enjoy the time with the team as well. Then we start day number 2. On day number 2, we just quickly go back through and recap everything that we've done. Then we move into one of the longest sections, which is the marketing strategy. Now, the marketing strategy on day 2, it goes through a few different areas. So the first thing we want to do is who is our target market. So target market is really the list. Who are the people that we are trying to attract? Then what we do, once we've dialed that in and making sure we've gotten crystal clear on who are the right people, but also who are the wrong people, so the people we don't want to attract, then we start to think about our program at large. So then we are looking for our 3 uniques. Now, with your 3 uniques, these things you will see other people doing. They may do one of them, some might even do 2, but nobody does all 3, right? So there are certain things that you do that are different to others. So for example, one of ours back then was no student left behind, which means whenever I run a click-by-click session, this is why we always have other team members in the room, because there are some people that cannot keep up with the click by click if we're doing it live in the room. That's why we have other experts in the room, so that they can catch people up, so that we all start together and we always finish together when we're building out the tech. So if you've ever been to a long 3-day GSD, you will have experienced that. Now, another one that we had, this is way back in 2020. I know my last year's one's in the house and I just didn't bring it out. But the other one was Together We Rise. So this has a lot to do with the fact that we bring in experts, not just those that are experts for the area that we teach in, but every year we bring experts in that have other subject matter expertise in mindfulness, in breath work, right? We've got copywriting, strategy, graphic design. I just finished an expert session with Doc Rock from eCam that we ran inside the community. So Together We Rise is about building and bringing the community together to share their expertise, to help other people, and then together we rise. And then the last one, of course, one of my favorites is the VOZ, right? Which, if you are part of our academy or higher, it's where you get to come in and quick questions. Or we've got the experts in there. We've got Tech at 10, Tech at 2. But there's a real human on the other side of Zoom Tuesday through Friday during business hours, right? So that makes us unique. I do not know any other businesses, and there is not many things in my brain that are unique, but I have to say The VOZ was my shower thought. I was lonely in business. At the time, I was working in network marketing. So I asked my entire team, come join me in Zoom. Let's work together. So we would do power sessions together. We would all be making outbound phone calls together. And when I started this business, we continued that. And I've been using Zoom since 2015 to have an open Zoom room where people get to jump in, either work beside each other, catch up. We even have some people that run team meetings in here because it's easier if they need our help to go and grab somebody from the team to get help. So they're some of our 3 uniques. So you'll come up with that as well. And this one takes a long time to get through to get everybody agreeing and on the same page. Then we design our proven process. So your proven process is the journey that your client takes to you. So think about what we teach you is the 7 stages of the customer's life cycle. That's your journey that your customers are going through. What is that journey? What's the first touch point? Then after that touch point, what's the next one and the one after that, all the way through to sale, onboarding, and right up to upsells, reviews, and referrals. So that's your customer's journey. For us, we use that, but we also use the client's journey. So we need our clients to have their vision, to have an offer, so we have these different milestones and checkpoints that we take people through. Then you turn that into an infographic so that you can visually see the journey. Let me see where it is in here in the traction book and show you the traction version. I should have highlighted it. No, that's not it. Here. So that's the EOS process, right? So at the beginning steps, and then all the things that they need to do, the next steps and the things that they need to do, so that the path is clear of the journey that your people are going through. So way back in 2020, our process was Sally will map your offer, right? So we get together, we do your first offer because a lot of our people struggle to put together an offer. There is a one before that, which is the strategy call or the discovery session with them, right? But once they pay, then what? What are the steps we take them through? And then the final thing in the marketing strategy is the guarantee. What is that guarantee? And ours was no student left behind way back in 2020. So for us, I know that changed a few times to we promise that at the end of 12 months, you will be getting back time, either by being able to pay for ads, so no longer have to pound the pavement, or you will start hiring your first team member, which again will give you back time. So there was some of the guarantees that we've had over the years. Another one was if you don't get your return on investment, we will work with you until you do. So that's where the guarantee is. And then we finish out the day on day 3 is with a 3-year picture. So with your 3-year picture, we start from the 3 years from the date that we're writing it. We then decide on what will the revenue be in 3 years' time. So the best way to do that is get honest with yourself and with your team. Show them your growth over the past few years. Now, if you don't and you're just starting, have a guess, have a stab at it. Like if today, in 12 months' time, I was to do all the things I need to do, where would I like my revenue to be? And then will I double it every 3 years, or will I, 2x it or 3x it, right? The larger your revenue is, it gets harder to double it year upon year. But in the first few years, it's easier to double your revenue. So you're thinking of revenue, and then based off that, how much of that revenue, because revenue is a very easy number, how much of that is actually going to be profit after you pay your team, your software, your marketing, all of those outgoing expenses? how much profit do you want from that? Once we know our revenue, our future date, and our profit, then we work on how are we going to measure that. So that's where we would start to look at how many academy people do we need to hit that goal? Or how many studio clients do we need to hit that goal? And how many software subscribers? Then we would ask, okay, now we know the total for each. What percentage rate of each of those do we want? 20% in studio, 60% in academy, and then 20% in SaaS. I don't know if I got it right, but I hope I did 100%. This is just guessing. But then I can start to work out exactly how many people I need for that. Then we can start to reverse engineer that and say, okay, if I need 10 studio clients, then how many conversations do I need to have in order to get a 20% conversion rate on conversations? Now that's very low. It's a very low industry standard, but if you're very good at sales, it should be much higher than 20%. But whenever I work out my numbers, what I tend to do is money coming in, I underestimate, and money going out, I overestimate, so that I'm always winning, right? So I'm always thinking I'm going to be spending more, but the money coming in is less, and it kind of works itself out. It doesn't need to get down to the dollars and cents. You can round these numbers as well. So that's what we do. We start to work out how are we going to measure that success to know that we're going to get there. And that's when we start to write down what does it look like. So back then we had $25,000. We would want 30 annual subscribers. That would give us $750,000. We had a $297 program, right? That meant we would need 1,000 subscribers to hit the target. And then with the academy, it was $2,000. And so we would need, I can't remember. I can't read my own handwriting. But we dial that down to the different offers that we have. Now, when you're thinking about your offers, I'm saying it's the same offer, but you're just adding more, right? So for us, for example, if you look at our 3-tier model, first level is software only with the DIY to install your business in a box. Next level up is all of that, plus the expert sessions and the done with you support. And then the next level up is all of that stuff, plus we build the business in a box for you, which is the done for you. It's exactly the same stuff. It just means they're cutting a check for speed as they move up the 3 different tiers. Don't complicate your offer. If you make too many offers, when you confuse, you lose, right? So that's how we end off on day 3. Now, the next and following day, this gets a little harder, and even the end of day 2, for people that aren't in leadership positions. We really start to break the numbers down, and it can kind of go over the top of the head of a lot of our sort of builders and our workers. Yet the leadership team, we need this. We need what we do in day 3 in order to hit our 3-year and our 10-year goal. So on day 3, we kick off with our 1-year plan. Now we know what we need to get to 3 years. What do we need in 12 months to be 1/3 of the way there? Now, think about this. Remember, the more you make, the harder it is to double your income every year. But in the early stages, it's much easier to go from 100,000 to 200,000 the following year. But once you start getting into the 4 or 5 million, it's very hard to go from 5 to 10 unless you've got awesome processes and systems and you've done it before, right? Honestly, it's something you learn over time. So in the 1-year plan, we do the same thing. We do future date, we write it down. We say, what will our revenue be? What will our profit be? And then what will we measure? So back in 2020, we wanted a 15% profit margin. We wanted our measurables to be the number of software subscribers, academy subscribers, and we used to call them accelerator student. So they were the ones who had a bit more done with you hand holding. Again, with those goals, we worked on the numbers. If that was the only thing that we sold, what is the total number to hit that revenue goal? And then what percentage rate of each of those would we try to goal for as well? So once we know what our 12-month plan is now, the next step is our rocks. So the analogy for rocks is, think you've got a cup, right? And what a lot of people do is, if you were to fill a cup with sand, right, or coffee, if you were to fill a cup with sand, all the busy work is your sand. And then you try to put in rocks and pebbles. So pebbles are the sort of more actionable tasks, and the rocks are the big quarterly goals. They wouldn't fit. So what we need is the rocks first. So we know that every single thing that we choose to do is actually taking us and building towards those individual rocks. Now, you can have between 3 to 7 rocks, no more, and less is best. And again, you'll have your revenue, your profit, and your measurables. But here we start to say how many, and this is where we want it, we had how many new emails do we need this quarter? Then based off how many emails do we need, how many phone conversations or Zoom conversations do we need to have in order to convert 20% of those to a customer? So here we had who's in charge of tracking that actual rock, right? Who's going to watch that we're hitting the number of emails that we need to have by the end of the quarter? Then who's going to track the number of calls and conversions that we have from those calls? And then other things we had here was we need to do a certain amount of podcast episodes, because those podcast episodes, they have a CTA in them, which then grow our list. We needed to have a certain amount of software tours, which is a sales call. Come in, we'll give you a tour of the software. If you like it, then, some of those will convert. We used to do a sneak peek back then, which is something we probably should do more of. But once a month, we would run a sneak peek week where people could come in, they could experience what it was like inside of the academy, and then after the week, they could decide if they wanted to join us. So one of our rocks was how many people we wanted to get into the sneak peek, right? And then the same mapping sessions, how many mapping sessions did I need to do in order to get more accelerator and academy clients as well? So we break that down into no more than 7 rocks and who is in charge of tracking that number. There's a really, really good saying in this book: everybody has a number. Between 3 to 7 numbers, there are so many things that you can be tracking, but what are the most important numbers that are helping us achieve the rocks? Now, some of our rocks this year were to finish the business in a box to a point where it doesn't need human intervention, right? That way people can come in through the Done With You program, and then they could go through the training and they don't even need to have somebody, even though we give them sessions to check in with them because we want to improve that completion rate. We needed it to get to a point that people could just go through the course. So that was a really important rock for us to get finished, because it saves us time in the future. So we can spend more time with those people who are in the academy and in the studio versus those that are just coming in for the software. So once we have those rocks, from those rocks, we then start to break that down into tasks. What are the actual tasks needed that we have to do in order to hit that rock? Now, those tasks become part of our weekly scorecard, which we measure. And every staff member has a number that they must track. Right from the top level where we're tracking number of closes, number of leads, to say the person on the support desk, their number will be you must give an answer to a ticket within 24 hours. And all tickets must be closed within 72 hours, right? So that's what we call a service level agreement, an SLA. That's a number. So the person in charge of making sure that the customer support inbox and all incoming tickets and questions are solved within 24 hours, they need to at least have a got your problem or we're looking into it, must be at least a reply to say, we see you. And then all tickets must be resolved within 72 hours. Now, of course, things can get bumped out, but that's a goal for us, right? Is to not let tickets go unresolved for weeks and weeks and weeks. So once we've got our rocks, we finish with, it's called issues. Now we know where we're headed. Now we know what our goals are. We know what our rocks are. And we know what tasks we need to be doing each week and numbers we need to be tracking. We then need to start to think of what things may stop us from achieving those goals. And we start to list out a big list of potential issues. What if the marketing campaign does, the cost per lead goes up? That would blow our marketing budget, right? So these don't need to be solved. They just need to be considered. So think about all the different issues that may come up that will stop you from hitting those rocks, those quarterly rocks. They actually name it as IDS. Identify, discuss, and solve. Then off the back end of this traction plan, we also then run a level 10 meeting every single week. And the level 10 meeting, what that does is it allows you to review your rocks, to look at your scorecards, and to identify and discuss and solve any issues that have come up. Now, again, go to EOS. There's a whole training on how to run a level 10 meeting. I used to do it by myself when I had no team. I still ran a level 10 meeting because it gave me the structure to review what's going on in my business. And the IDS part is one of the most important parts of that meeting. You look and identify all of the problems that are currently sitting in your business, and you pick the one that's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck if you fix it. And we spend as much time as needed to discuss that issue to then solve. What are we going to do to solve that issue? Now, if you only get through one item in that 90-minute team meeting, you get through one. But if you get through one and you can move on to the next, you might get through 2 or 3. Now that IDS list, it will grow and grow, and sometimes you'll look at it and you go, don't even need that anymore, and you can cross things off because you realize they weren't as important as what you thought they were. A big thing we do is every time an issue comes up or a problem arises, we go, put it on the list. It's no time to discuss it during the business day when I'm focusing in on my action tasks, but I know it's there and I don't want to forget it. So I stick it on the list and it comes up during our team meeting each week. Now, for those of you who are part of the academy, there is actually a training, my version of the EOS traction system, available to you. It was a 3-day training that I did with our academy students, and I go through and help you calculate your numbers, plan your marketing. So if you are part of the academy, hit us up in the support inbox and ask for that course to be granted to you. It is so, so valuable. When people finish that and those that have gone through it at their own pace, finally feel like they've got some direction. They're not just working on busy tasks. You're actually working on tasks that are feeding the rock, that are building you towards that 3-month goal, that are building you towards that 1 year, that are then building you towards that 3-year and 10-year. Now, like I said, we only do this once a year with the whole team. However, we review this once a quarter. Maybe the direction of your business slightly changes in a quarter's time. You don't have to go back through and do your core values and do your 10-year target and all those things again. You're generally looking at, am I on track for the 1 year? Is that the direction that I'm still heading in? Maybe I've pivoted slightly. And then I reassess and we rewrite the rocks for the next quarter. Some of them carry over because some of them may be something that needs to be completed over a number of months, right? We can't get it done in 1 quarter. We need a few quarters to finish it. But we review it once a quarter. And then at the end of every year or the beginning of every year, we just redo the whole thing again together as a team. As I said, this VTO, I've been doing this since 2015 all by myself. And then I think it was 2017 or 18, I can't remember, I started doing it with a team, right? It took me 2 or 3 years to have a team to be able to do it. And it all started in here. Traction. My other favorite book from Traction is In the House, Rocket Fuel, that talks about you as the visionary and your integrator, which is my Ash, right? We're definitely a visionary and integrated team. Ash is the one who stresses about all the stuff, and I'm the one who has the big vision, but she sees all the issues in the business. But before Ash, I had to be both. Right? I had to be both because that's what it takes to run a business. Sometimes you've got to wear all the hats until you can start hiring yourself out of the hats you don't like wearing. So, Traction, my go-to book that I have used to run my business since 2015. Once introduced to Traction, there was no looking back. It was the thing that truly allowed me to choose the right things in the right order to make sure that I was no longer just doing busy work. I was choosing work that actually makes progress in your business. So there we go. There's my little hot tip on the Vision Traction Organizer and what I've been doing for 3 years. All right, as always, let's jump on over to the VIP room and let's see what your key takeaway is. Let me just add a few of these beautiful humans into the scene. Yeah, Deborah, what was your key takeaway from today?
It's timely because I was... I had a conversation, well, I haven't had the conversation yet, but I'm trying to set up Stripe. Mm-hmm. And one of the questions they ask is, what do I envision I'm going to be earning and how much money am I going to be generating? And unlike you, I'm absolutely not a visionary. And so it's difficult. So I'll talk about that later when we're offline, I guess. But yep. So just this, it's hard to take one takeaway away, but it's the necessity of having the big picture.
Yeah.
Which I think for me is maybe my biggest challenge.
Well, this is, again, you can be a business owner and not a visionary. And this is why we hire coaches, right? I even have a coach. I pay big dollars for my coach. But in the early days, I was only paying $2,000 and it wasn't face-to-face coaching. It was group coaching, but I still needed it because you don't know what you don't know and you can't see what you can't see until somebody points it out to you. I had a conversation yesterday and I asked somebody about their 12-month vision. They're like, they didn't even want to talk about it. One thing I will say is, you've got to get uncomfortable and you've got to at least have something, even if it changes in a month or 2 months. Because if you don't have at least a 12-month vision, you're literally just rolling around in circles, right? You know what you want, but it's not clear. Like you want to go to bed and go, yeah, I'm going to hit that revenue goal. I need this many people. And, then you go out and you start doing the actions, even if you don't even get close. Preferably though, your 1 year should be attainable, that's really important. And attainable might just be getting to 6 figures, right? That may just be it. Maybe it's just getting to whatever you were earning when you were working full time. Maybe it's 50, 60, 70,000 for the year. But we need a number so we know what we need to go out and get. If we don't choose a number, then we're just rolling around in circles. And it's funny, when you start knowing where you're going, you start to make the choices, of what do I need to do. So, for example, we know we need a certain amount of sales in this quarter. Now, I could have Ash doing lots of things in the business. What is she doing? She's doing not cold, but she's doing phone calls. Why? Because we need to make sure we hit that target at the end of the quarter. It may not be the thing she wants to do, but it's the thing that needs to be done. So, that's where you've got to sometimes pull your big girl britches up and do the things that aren't the fun things, like building an offer, creating a course. That's all the fun stuff. But the phone calls are the things that's actually going to do the bottom line, right? Sharon, come on up, Sharon. What was a key takeaway for you?
Sorry, I just got a mental blank then.
That's okay. That's totally fine.
I don't really have, I have a vision, but I don't really have like a number. And I suppose I really should have a number. But I'd be interested in doing the 3-day course too.
Yeah.
The 3-day course that you did to kind of get my head around the whole.
Yeah.
Because I haven't finished, my offer or my course or anything like that yet.
Yeah. And like I said, it changes every year, right? Mine's changed a lot over the years. I should go back. I've got all the flip charts from all the years, and I've got all my old ones. I should collate them. They're all over the place. But it changes all the time. But at least having something. And like I said, if you can't see 10 years into the future and you can only go to 5 years, like these are big dreams, big visions. Like for me, it was about, starting this women community, global community. It's still not 100% ready to launch, right? And this is 10 years ago because it's the vision I had, but there's other things I needed to have in place first that because I can't go. I didn't want to go and start a not-for-profit until this business was profitable enough to support the not-for-profit, right? To get me where I want to go. But it's still part of that bigger vision and bigger dream. And I'm about to hit 10 years next year. So that's why, thank you. That's why there's, if you've been listening and there's something brewing in the background. But again, it's still part of next year's plan. And if it moves and bumps out another year or two, I'm okay with that, but at least it's on the plan. So, I would love you both to jump in and, again, I don't want you, and this is a big thing, I don't want you doing it and then getting stuck in it for a really long time. I want you to go through it. I want you to do it, and then I just want you to focus on the important stuff. And if you're not sure what it is, that's when we talk to make sure that you are making the right choices. But it really does start to clarify things, and the amount of testimonials that we got from people at the end of like the in-person one, you will see people that were struggling to work out the math. There's me coaching people through working out the math as well, so you'll be able to see how to do that for yourself. But it is something that we actually put in our calendar January of every year. So as you all know, we take 5 weeks, not 5 weeks away on a holiday. We do the Christmas New Year break, but we do 5 years without the VOZ every year because in week 3, we're doing traction. We're doing the VTO together as a team. Week 4, we are setting up all our tasks for what came out of the VTO. And then in week 5, we're getting ready for the year for, all the expert sessions and all the things that happen. Even though we're not in the VOZ, we're still in the VOZ. But we strategically dedicate less forward-facing customer time just for those 3 weeks every year so that we can do this. That's how important it is, that I pay staff to be here just to do this together. And it's not serving clients, it's just internally working on where we want to go. All right, everyone. We are a little late. We're a bit behind the curveball today with all the things. I'm going to shut this on down now. We're going to go dark and do some Ask Me Anything. As always, never let anyone dull your sparkle. Make sure you do at least one income-producing activity every day, and every day be in marketing.
You've been hiding in the shadows way too long. You always thought that you were weak, but babe, you're wrong. Yeah, you better step into the light, just give it a try. Think that it's time you let that spark out. You've been hiding in the shadows way too long.